East Africa, home to the Maasai and the huge herds of wildlife that have roamed there for millennia. Traditional pastoralists, the Maasai live in harmony with all wildlife. All wildlife, that is, except the African lion. When people and animals collide, things are never simple. In this wildlife-human conflict, I'm often called in to seek out the truth, to find out what's really happening on the front line. My name is Ivan Carter, hunter, conservationist, and wildlife investigator. I'm in the Maasai Land region of Kenya, traveling to Naivasha Conservancy. Here an exceptional company, Asilia, works tirelessly to build strong conservation ethos in the local communities with an emphasis on Africa's most iconic species, lions. In days past, lions could be found anywhere in Africa where prey species roamed. Numbering around 450,000 in the 1940s, today wild populations are thought to be a mere 32,000. To begin my investigation, I'm heading into the heart of one of the oldest human-lion conflicts in history to find out if there is indeed hope for the African lion. Naivasha Conservancy, an incredible patchwork of classic East African plains. Indeed, on the wide open grasslands of the Masai Mara ecosystem, when it rains here, it pours. You know, this time of year when these rains first break, it's an exciting time for the Maasai. The drought is over, their cattle stop dying. What was just a dust bowl just a couple of days ago. Just look at this, it's unbelievable. The beginning of the rains in Africa. What an incredible time to be here. These rains are short-lived and sporadic. The animals that inhabit the plains drift with the movement of the downpour. And they aren't the only ones. From their iconic red shawls to their nomadic lifestyle, the Maasai culture is deep and it's rich. Renowned for their warrior spirit, their traditions are closely tied to the fearsome African lion, a tradition that has not been positive for the neighboring lion populations. Although habitually nomadic people, as the world continues to modernize, the Maasai have become far more settled in this part of Kenya. Maasai live on milk, and so early in the mornings is a time when everybody milks, and then after that, they disperse their herds across the plains. I've arrived at one of their permanent homesteads, or manyatas. Maasai villages are made up of clusters of large pens known as bomas. Without heavy lumber to build fences, the Maasai intertwine bundles of shrubbery and thorns to corral their many cows and goats and surround their community. But bomas are not just meant to keep the cattle in. Their thorny construction is also a defense mechanism to keep hungry lions out. As I arrive, I meet with Danny, an old friend. Proud of his Maasai heritage, he's agreed to show me around his village and offer me a taste of traditional Maasai life. As with many pastoralist cultures across the globe, the day begins with milking of livestock. Danny walks me through some of the basics of Maasai culture.
The Maasai just live on meat and blood and milk. And really, when you think about it, that's really, really smart, because as a nomadic tribe, traditionally, wherever they go, they take their herds. And if you live on meat and blood and milk, wherever your herds are, you've got food.
As a father, it strikes me how carefree the Maasai children are with the livestock. Being surrounded by these animals would be a startling experience for most Western kids. Not these youngsters. From the day they take their first steps, Maasai children learn to love and care for their livestock and are taught how valuable these beasts are both culturally and physically. Observing is one thing, but Danny assures me the best way to learn about Maasai culture is to try it for myself.
This could be interesting. This is a lot harder than... I got about 2 drops out of this thing. He gets a whole squirt out of that thing. Right, let me try again. Cherry butena. Okay, come on here, eh? Ah, there we go, there we go. Now the goat thinks that's not such a good idea. I can't even get a drop out of this thing. It doesn't even... The goat's not so happy either. Man, like everything in life, practice makes perfect, and if you're very well practiced at something, you can make it look easier. I couldn't get any milk. I think I'd starve if I was Maasai.
It's best I leave the milking to the experts. Goat milking is indeed a daily ritual for the Maasai, but Danny tells me that cattle are the main source of sustenance. Without cattle, the Maasai, and significantly their culture, could not exist. These home bomas are the core of this tribe, but they also have makeshift bomas that they'll move around with the changing seasons. The further they graze their herds from the core, however, the more susceptible they become to the dangers of the African wilds. Danny tells me that even here in the permanent settlement, lions are a constant threat. As proof, he leads me to meet a victim of a recent lion attack. My name is Ivan Carter. I'm in Kenya investigating the human-lion conflict near Naivasha Conservancy. With the support of Asilia, I've learned about Maasai culture and have just been introduced to my first victim of a lion attack.
What these are, these deep puncture wounds in this calf's head. A lion got into their boma a couple of weeks ago and killed 3 cattle and wounded a bunch more, and this was one of the ones that got away.
This cow is very lucky to be alive.
This is very current evidence that, you know, these lions still get in here, they still get into these bomas, they still attack these animals.
Despite the nasty-looking wound, through continuous care by the Maasai, the calf will recover and eventually rejoin the herd. If not for the swift and fearless action of the Maasai herders, these attacks would be far more common and far more devastating. But how are they defending themselves against Africa's most famed predator? Olekuyu is a highly respected member of the community who, years ago, battled with a lion to protect his cattle. He's kind enough to share his story with me.
So Simba hii anaua ng'ombe yako. The lion got into his boma at night. He woke up, the lion had killed 3 cattle. He managed to get a spear and he stabbed the spear. And he got the spear between its ribs. It grabbed him with a claw, one in his head and one in his shoulder. You can actually see, these are the claw marks.
A terrifying experience indeed, but Olekuyu has more than scars as evidence of the battle.
Ooh, man, look at this thing.
With pride, he shows me the lion's mane, now made into a traditional headdress to be worn in ceremonies.
This is an unbelievable status symbol. This is the same thing that's been going on for literally 100 years, 200 years, you know. Man. Indeed. He said he's going to put it on his head for us like he would at a ceremony.
Historically, the Maasai have battled with lions for centuries. Seeing the beasts as equal adversaries, they take pride in defeating a lion, and those who manage to do so are held in high esteem by the community. With their ever-expanding populations, these traditions, among other factors, have contributed to lion populations in the area being halved over the last few decades. But times are changing for the better. In recent years, killing lions other than in defense, like in Olekuyu's case, has become illegal. But how have the Maasai adapted to the shifting socio-political climate? Within the Maasai culture, the men tasked with defending their cattle are known as Marani. Who better to speak to? In the old days, in order to break from being a warrior into being an elder, the Maranis had to kill a lion. But with lion hunting now illegal, have the Marani adapted their traditions to compensate? I meet a pair of these Marani warriors to find out.
Traditionally, what would end up happening is a Moran wasn't able to progress to the next stage until he had actually killed a lion.
I ask him if nowadays they still traditionally kill lions to become an elder. He tells me no, times have changed.
What he's saying is that these days, instead of killing a lion, they're given a herd of cattle. When they come back, even if they're missing 1 cow, they don't get to shave their head and they don't get to marry. Only when they can show that they're good enough at looking after cattle. So that's a big change.
I ask if they've had any encounters with lions. He says that they've not killed one, but they've had to defend their herds from them. One of them has the scars from the battle to prove it. When I ask if he was afraid, he laughs deeply.
He just laughed at me. He said, I'm a Maasai, how can I be frightened of lions?
It's inspiring to hear that the Maasai have embraced significant changes in their culture, while still maintaining their warrior spirit. I've learned a lot about settled Maasai culture, but this only makes up a portion of the tribe. The Marani warriors told me of a distinguished elder who prefers nomadic life and has famously battled a lion on his own. Known only as Simba, which is Swahili for lion, they point me in the direction he last traveled, and I head off to find him and learn more about nomadic life.
Well, I think this is as far as we're going to get after all this rain last night. So you're just going to have to do the rest on foot.
Well adapted after centuries of nomadic life, Maasai can easily walk 20 miles in a day. Every day. That's over 7,000 miles in a year. At that rate, every 3.5 years, a Maasai will walk the circumference of the earth.
Could be several miles away, so I'm going to have to hustle. It's not easy walking with all of this mud.
While herding cattle out on the plains can lead to better grazing, the Maasai here are miles from the nearest village or support system, and far more open to threats. I soon discovered just how prominent that threat is.
These lions have come through here last night with the amount of rain that we had. This is a lioness here. I'm sure if we looked around, we'd find other tracks, but here the cattle all around us, the cattle tracks are right here. And herein lies the problem. You've got lions living, hunting, and just surviving in an area where the people are bringing their cattle into. And that's where the conflict occurs.
I've yet to see a lion during the day, but with night swiftly approaching, are these nocturnal hunters close behind? My name is Ivan Carter. I'm in Kenya, investigating the human-lion conflict near the Nayabosho Conservancy. I'm trying to find a Maasai nomad named Simba, but I fear a lion may be close by. Not much further on, I track down Simba, who is tending to his cattle.
Simba! This is him.
Okay.
Unatembea?
Yeah. Asante.
Habari yako sana?
Nzuri sana. Ito Simba kabisa.
Says he's got over 200 cows here that he walks with every day.
Inquiring about his experience with lions, he tells me a hair-raising story.
He said, yes, indeed, he is the guy that was bitten by a lion. He said the lion got into his boma to try and eat his cows. It got in and it was on one of his cows. He hit it with a spear. It bit him on his leg. And then he took his Maasai knife. While it was eating his leg, he started stabbing it until eventually it stopped biting him.
Ngumu sana.
Ngumu sana wewe.
Ngumu kabisa. Mimi ni mwanaume Murani kabisa.
He said, I'm very strong. I'm a warrior. I'm not scared of lions.
I've now heard stories of lion attacks from 3 separate sources, all of whom were either defending their cattle or defending themselves. The threat is undoubtedly real for these shepherds.
To think of jumping on a lion with a spear, a 500-pound cat, that takes an amazing amount of bravery, and it shows that these guys will stop at nothing to protect their cattle.
To a man, these Maasai have sworn that they no longer kill lions for traditional reasons. They've even changed those traditions to reflect modern times. While some lions are indeed being killed by Maasai with spears, they now do so out of protection, not tradition. However, the small number of lions killed in self-defense does not account for such a large decline in the population of the lions across Maasai land. How have the lion populations declined by half in the last decade? I arrive back at my vehicle as dusk falls, for which I'm greatly relieved. Sure enough, as the night approaches, we spot our first lion in the wild, stretching his legs as he prepares for a nocturnal hunt. Panthera leo. Weighing in at over 500 pounds, the African lion is legendary for the male's magnificent mane and their thunderous roar, which can be heard up to 5 miles away. Maasai land is vast, several thousand square miles. With the dawn comes sinister news from an area of Maasai land a long way from the Masai Mara.
These guys have called me in. There's a Maasai supposed to meet me on the side of the road here.
The conservatories maintain a close relationship with Maasai as their knowledge of the territory is unparalleled, and they report any unnatural or infamous happenings. The Maasai says there was an incident with a pride of lions, but he is scarce on the details. Warning that there may be more in the area, we cautiously head to the scene.
Just gotta look around here. make sure that there's no other cats around. You never know when you approach a scene like this.
As I emerge from the brush, I'm met with a devastating sight.
3 dead lions here.
These deaths appear to be unnatural. The investigation just blew wide open. My name is Ivan Carter. I'm in Masailand investigating the human-lion conflict in Africa. I've just discovered a deceased pride of lions and I begin to investigate. I've seen many wildlife crime scenes, but this one's truly heartbreaking. I don surgical gloves and survey the scene. There are 3 lions, 2 males and a female, surrounding a partially eaten cow, bearing a Maasai brand. I see no signs of injury. These beautiful cats were not attacked. They found death by another means.
This is just not fair.
Taking a closer look, I note a blue hue on their tongues and dried blood in their nose and mouth. Their deaths appear to be wholly unnatural.
Sorry, my boy.
Moving to the cow, it becomes painfully clear what happened here.
I would imagine it's poison. There's several strains of poison that the people use, but you can see this powder that's here.
Curiously, the powder appears on the inner flesh of the cow, indicating that it was applied after the lions had begun eating it.
Young male, he was destined for greatness. He was going to be the king of beasts. I think what's probably happened, they've been pushed out of a pride in one of the parks and they've gone off on a bit of a walkabout to try and find a territory of their own and probably found their way out of the park into the cattle area. Not much else to feed on right here. Killed the cow. And that right there was their downfall.
What motivation could possibly lead to this heinous act?
I have to find out more about why 3 lions' lives are seen as less value than 1 cow's life.
This tragedy appears to be driven by a more specific purpose than tradition. There is no honor for the Maasai in poisoning lions. They would take no pride in these deaths. But the poisoned cow was branded and as such was of great value to somebody before being killed by the lions. I traveled to a nearby market to get a better idea of just how much these cattle are worth.
So every little town has actually got a market day. Everything that these people need to survive day to day, week to week, changes hands here once a week, including cattle and sheep.
In every part of the world, economic factors are at play, even here in the middle of Masailand. But how does this translate to the decline in lion numbers? I start at the obvious place where cattle turn from investment into food, the butchery.
When you buy a cow, how much do you pay for a cow?
60,000 to 70,000.
70,000 shillings. Today, that's about $650 US, a significant amount of money in this part of the world. With value this great, there's no question why someone would take measures to prevent further loss of cattle.
About 2,000 cattle every single market day turnover. So once a week, 2,000 cattle are changing hands here, and a bunch of them going through little butcheries like this. All along these streets, there's little butcheries like this.
2,000 cattle, averaging around $200 each, equates to about $400,000 US a week changing hands. This is a very important industry to the Maasai, and indeed the very backbone of their culture. It's not hard to imagine an angry cattle owner wanting to poison cattle-killing lions. How common are these poisonings? And where are the people getting their hands on such vile substances? To find out, I traveled to the Predator Hub, a small remote research station which has been highly effective in studying and mitigating the human-predator conflict in the area. Here I'm meeting with Maasai researcher Dominic Sakat, who's combined his traditional upbringing with a higher education to help with lion conservation efforts in the territory.
How did you go from being a Maasai who kills lions for their culture and kills lions to protect their livestock to being a lion researcher?
So when I went to the school, that's where I changed my perception and learned more that having these predators, these lions and cheetahs, actually, they are helping us to money.
Without that education, right now you'd be carrying a spear hunting lions.
Yes.
And with that education, you're carrying a spear protecting lion. That's a big difference, eh?
Yeah.
What is the biggest issue that you guys come across on a regular basis?
Poisoning. So people are doing it whereby they poison a carcass or a leftover from a lion, and when the lions come back, they feed for that carcass. They're using a substance which initially was used in agriculture.
It's a nematicide for nematodes. How much does this cost?
250 Kenya shillings.
$2.50.
Yeah.
So for $2.50, you can wipe out an entire pride of lion. And so without education, if a lion comes into your boma, kills $1,000 worth of your cows, for $2.50, you can make that problem go away.
The challenge is when there are predators, lions, and cattle and people, the Maasai people. We believe that they can be together, but how we can mitigate this problem, it depends with a lot of education, because there might be a reason why this happened. It's a big challenge, but it's
winnable.
Yeah, it's winnable.
Well, look at you.
Yeah, it's winnable.
Dominic, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Thank you so much for what you people do here. Nice to see you again, eh?
Let's see it.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah, see you.
Thank you, eh?
Yeah.
Dominic is a true guardian of wildlife and a shining example of the difference education can make to all human issues, conservation included. I now know how easy it is to acquire the poison that killed our 3 lions. But at the crime scene, the poison was definitely applied on the cow after the lions had begun eating. How did the perpetrators manage this? To find out, I journey to a private game reserve where I locate a pride of lions feeding on a kill.
So one of the questions is, what does it really take to get lions off a cow? If you've got lions on a kill and they're feeding aggressively on that kill, what's happening is they're pushing the lions off these kills, they're putting poison on the kills, and when the lions come back, they're obviously eating the poison. What I'm gonna do is just like a Maasai would do, is I'm gonna walk in on this kill, I'm gonna carry a stick with me. That's probably all a Maasai would have is his spear, and we'll just see what the reaction is.
Within moments of my approach, the lions become skittish. Most of them rush off immediately.
Actually, when you really look at it, they just leave.
One, however, looks far more confident.
Probably the most mature of them. Come on, come big guy.
I move a bit closer, but he seems undeterred.
Come on, move on. Come big guy, move on. Come on, he's probably the most hungry, he's certainly not the oldest. Come on, big guy, move.
But eventually he moves on like the rest of his pride.
And so all I would need to do now, sprinkle some poison on this kill. I'm not gonna turn my back on them for a second, they're all surrounding me here in the bush. I'd put my poison on this kill, and then I'd start to back off. You never want to turn your back on a lion, particularly in this scenario where they're hungry. They're going to want to come back to their kill. But literally with a stick, I've actually pretty peacefully managed to leave the kill. And I'm thinking that as soon as I back off, as soon as they see that I'm getting out of their way, they're going to come back and carry on feeding.
Sure enough, as soon as I leave the carcass, the lions return to continue feeding.
I'm not saying it's not hair-raising, but it's certainly pretty easy. Had I put a virulent poison on this kill, within minutes, literally within minutes, the whole pride would be dead.
It seems ironic that such a fearsome predator can be so easily intimidated by a human with a stick. While this seems to contradict the stories I've heard from the Maasai herders, each of their encounters occurred in the dead of night, rather than during the day, as is the case here. A question remains. Is it more difficult to drive lions off a carcass during their natural nocturnal hours? I wait until dusk and return after the pride has forgotten my presence to find out. Once again, the majority of the pride runs off as soon as I approach. But this time, the elder female is far more protective.
Off you go. Off you go. Off you go.
She's posturing. It's evident that her nocturnal predator's instincts have kicked in.
Off you go. She's getting brave. Off you go.
But warily, she eventually backs off.
Off you go. Come on. Off you go.
Once again, however, a younger male stands his ground.
Off you go, come on. Come, guys. Come on, off you go. Off you go, come on.
He remains unfazed, and as I get closer, the older females begin to take note.
Come on, off you go. Come on, come on. Come on, little guy.
I'm able to drive away the young lion,
Come on, come on.
but
Come
the
on.
matriarchs do not look happy.
Off you go. Come on. Hey, 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 hey.
My name is Ivan Carter. While investigating the human-lion conflict in East Africa, I'm testing whether lions are more aggressive at night, and I've gotten myself into a delicate situation.
Come on, come on, come on. Off you go. Come on, come on. Hey, 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 hey! Yay! As soon as it starts to get dark, you're looking at a completely different animal here. You can see when I first got out of the vehicle in an earlier situation, everybody disappeared. You're talking about an animal that during the daytime is actually very regressive to humans. They'll get out of your way. It's starting to get late in the evening, and the lions are starting to think about hunting, and it's a completely different animal, very much more aggressive, very much more defensive, and very much less frightened of people. And that's why these attacks happen at night.
This experience, while nerve-wracking to say the least, has demonstrated a crucial point in my investigation. While it's relatively easy for the Maasai to avoid daytime conflicts with lions, it becomes a far more daunting task come nightfall when the lion's predatory instincts kick in. While most Maasai will proudly defend their livestock should a conflict arise, the poison lions from earlier prove that some people would prefer a more preventative and despicable measure. But who are these cowardly people, and are they common in this area? I traveled to meet renowned tribalist Ron Beaton, who's lived amongst the Maasai for 40 years. Ron has dedicated the better part of his life to studying the tribes of Africa. Having observed the changes in the culture over the years, I hope his vast knowledge can help me explain who is poisoning these lions.
There's two areas of conflict one sees. As you see the poisonings, which is obviously just, livestock protection. But then you see the Maranis, and is that process being replaced in any way? Or are they still proactively hunting lions as part of their traditional ceremonial coming of age?
Well, in parts of Maasai land, obviously, in the more traditional parts. But here around the Mara, that's virtually out of the window now.
Oh, really?
They're not doing it anymore.
Yeah. What we've seen is they put such huge value on their livestock.
Absolutely. I mean, they've got the old pyramid there. Cattle are at the top. Water is under that. Grass. And then further down the pyramid, their wives and families. If you look at their language, Ngishu is God.
Yeah.
And Ngishu is a word for a cow.
So anything that challenges the top of that pyramid
Yeah.
doesn't have a good future. You see some poisoned lions, as horrific as that all is, and you think, well, why would anybody do that? As you start to get deeper into the culture, you understand why that would happen.
That seems to have reduced over the last 12 months. Anybody poisoning is being ostracized by the community. That's the first step.
Well, Ron, I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us through this. I mean, there's no easy answers to any conservation in Africa, but thank you for your time, mate.
Despite witnessing the horrific poisoning, it's comforting to hear that not only is this practice uncommon today, but the Maasai are taking action against the few who perform such terrible acts. As I've learned, the Maasai hold their cattle in the highest regard, so when they choose to eat one, it's a highly spiritual act performed through grand ceremony. I've been invited back to Danny's village where this story began, to take part in one of these momentous occasions. My name is Ivan Carter. I'm in East Africa, investigating the human-lion conflict in Maasai land. I've just been invited to a Maasai ceremony where a cow is being prepared.
Jambo, Jambo. Jambo. Pretty interesting. I'm just kind of keeping my distance a little bit. It's a very jovial event.
The community gathers around the cow, and I join them as the elders prepare it for slaughter. The cow is put to death, but the ceremony is only just beginning.
Before the heart stops, they're going to cut its neck and drink the blood.
Irrespective of the human-lion conflict, the Maasai people maintain an incredible culture, whose core values remain unwavering despite inevitable modernization. Both the old and the young gather around to consume the precious nutrients provided by the sacred cow and delight in the shared experience. The cow will be used in its entirety: meat, marrow, and most importantly to them, the blood is cherished here, a far cry from Western practices. The ceremony is beautiful and uplifting. My time with the Maasai has been both inspiring and telling. I began my investigation in Nayabosho Conservancy, observing the Maasai culture firsthand, and quickly discovered how entwined they are with their livestock. I learned that while Maasai take great pride in battling with mighty lions, they have embraced modern culture, and for the most part, only engage with lions out of defense.
The lion got into his boma to try and eat his cows.
But in discovering a tragic scene of poisoned lions, I also learned that some people would prefer to remove lions altogether. I had a nerve-wracking encounter with a pride of lions. And I found that while lions are quite dangerous at night, it's relatively easy for a would-be poisoner to drive them off a kill during the day. I met with conservationists Dominic Sackert and Ron Beaton, and I determined that while lion poisoning is a harsh reality in Maasai land, through education and cooperation, these heinous acts are declining steadily. While lion conservation efforts have been successful throughout the Kenyan conservancies, Africa is a large place, the entirety of which lions once called home. Nowadays, there are many areas where lions have not prowled in many decades, but great efforts are being made to fix this. I'm on my way to South Africa, heading to Pinde Private Game Reserve, a protected area where lion populations have been flourishing. There, wildlife veterinarian Mike Toft and Pinde wildlife manager Simon Naylor are preparing a lion relocation. The goal is to populate a newly established game reserve in an area where lions were wiped out over 120 years ago, and I've been invited to participate in the momentous program.
We're just arriving here where Mike the vet and Simon the wildlife manager of Pinde Private Game Reserve are just preparing their mobile hospital here.
I've worked with Mike before, a wildlife veterinarian with over 30 years of experience. He's an expert in live capture and is no stranger in safely darting and transporting lions.
How many lions do you have on the property?
Currently, we've got about 35, which is probably too many that this property can handle. I mean, obviously, we've got a carrying capacity. So when the opportunity comes to translocate lions out, we'll try and send them to good homes. We've moved lions to Mozambique. We've moved lions to Rwanda recently this year.
It's just trying to find this balance. I mean, that's what conservation is about, isn't it? It's about balance. Well, cool, man.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
With the team prepared, we load into the trucks and head out to find our lions. Tracking them is relatively easy. Getting a clear view of them, that's another story.
They'll choose disappearing into the thicket long before coming close enough for us to fire a dart, particularly in this thick bush.
Guys. Lions here.
Okay, here they are. I just saw them moving at the top there.
Sure enough, the first lion emerges from the bushes. We've seen him, but what happens when he sees us? My name is Ivan Carter. I'm in Pinde Private Game Reserve in South Africa, participating in a lion relocation program with Mike Toft and Simon Naylor. We've just found our first lion. Now the tricky part begins.
So we've actually spotted the lions up here. Now we've got to try and get around. The bush is way, way too thick to fire a dart through, so we're just wanting to get around and see if we can get a nice clear shot.
Luckily, we're prepared and have brought bait with us to help coax the cat out into the open. These may be wild cats, but even a lion won't say no to a free meal. Or at least that's what we hope. Sure enough, the cat comes out to feed, and he's not alone.
The male is out eating already. The females are starting to edge their way towards the bait.
Things are working in our favor. The plan is to move 2 females to a location where 2 males have already been relocated for maximum genetic diversity, and thus healthier future lions. We wait for the lions to get comfortable, then slowly drive closer so that Mike can get a clean shot with the dart gun. Mike steadies himself and takes aim at the first female. The first shot is right on target, entering right in the muscle of the back leg. This mitigates the chance of the dart hitting bone. The lioness won't have gone far before the drug's effect put her to sleep. Though he is wary, a lion's stomach often takes priority over caution. With his eyes fixed on us, he returns to the bait to feed. Satisfied with her brother's choice, the second female joins him at the dinner table. Mike prepares for his next shot.
Good shot.
Another perfect shot. We've successfully darted our quota of lionesses, but there's a problem.
Now we've got a little bit of a tricky situation. This male is still here, and we've got to now try and start locating where the other female is. We know that the dart went in well, so she is asleep somewhere here. But it's thick bush, and we're just going to have to be very, very careful looking for her.
If the immobilized lions have fallen awkwardly, they may have trouble breathing, and in the worst case, may die. We must find them quickly, but with the now nervous male lingering nearby, this could be dangerous.
Carter's War would like to thank the following people and organizations. Without their help, this program would not be possible.
My name is Ivan Carter. I'm in Phinda Private Game Reserve in South Africa, taking part in a lion relocation program. We've just darted 2 lionesses, but have lost sight of their wary brother, putting us in a dangerous situation. With the clock ticking, there's a lot at stake here. Cautiously, we search for the missing female. Thankfully, we soon find her unharmed and safely drugged, but tensions remain high. Her brother could be anywhere. He may try and protect her. The team works quickly, securing the female and preparing her for transport. In haste, we carefully move her to the truck. After successfully loading the 2 lionesses into the vehicle, we drive off, safely out of harm's way. But our work isn't over yet.
We've got to be pretty quick. There's a limit to how much time these lions can be under anesthetic, and so we've really got to keep moving, keep everything flowing. We're going to be driving pretty quickly now, getting to where the lions are going, which is to the mobile hospital.
As soon as we arrive, the lions are given a thorough medical examination and have GPS trackers inserted to monitor their future movements. Finally, they are loaded into a well-ventilated trailer, ready for the big move.
Simon, that must make you feel good, eh?
No, it's a great feeling. It's wonderful to see them going to another home where they can establish a new population, and just shows our conservation extends beyond our boundaries.
Yeah, that's a big deal right there.
With our work complete, Mike drives off in the main transport vehicle, and I follow close behind.
You know, there's a great feeling traveling behind Mike, who's got these lions in his trailer. This represents so much more than just moving a lion. We have to believe there's hope. The wildlife in Africa has hope.
After a long drive, we finally arrive at our destination, a place where female lions have not walked for over 100 years. Carefully carrying them to a shaded area, Mike injects him with the reversal drug to counteract the anesthetic. While these females will wake up in a controlled quarantine zone to allow them to acclimatize to their new environment, it won't be long before they're left to freely roam their new home and meet the males that have already been relocated here.
Well, Mike, this is a big deal, eh? I mean, this is going to be the first lion tracks on this land in probably 120 years, isn't it? Eh?
Absolutely, and I mean, so exciting for the area, you know, to get to the point over there. We've got the big five back here again, and this just is the final piece of the jigsaw.
That's awesome.
Only time will tell. But for now, it's these very people and organizations upon whom I place my hope. If you would like to learn more about this episode, or if you'd like to support these people on the front line, please go to carterswar.com.